talking a little bit. Um, I'm going to go through some old stuffs, but before that, let's talk a little bit more about Sunny Bhai.
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Sunny bhai. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good.
Okay.
Arbi, you said that you made any changes over there related to the size of QA, the initial slides?
Oh, what I is changes like means what I did. I sent you SDLC. You didn't receive it? No, I didn't.
No, we
Now,
didn't get that.
change what I did. Let me show you. I had in PowerPoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I just copy and paste to in Microsoft Word and add some notes to additional note to it. The reason I did it is in PowerPoint it's not easy to modify for you guys. Whenever you need to like say if you want to add some notes to it, like typing, I mean, then you have to add
Right.
additional slide and it gets a little messy. But if it's a Microsoft Word, you can just type anywhere and then add some note to it. So that's why I put it in there so that you guys can take notes. But besides that, like I said, I add some additional note to it. Some, like I said, for the testing, I didn't have much definition like explanation before. Now I add some extra explanation, things like that, so that it will be a little easier
Okay.
for you guys whenever review. So I'll send it as DLC note so that you guys can take a look. But let's to let you know, Said, by this month, as I planned before, I'll put you in the market because if I don't do this month, it will go bit way too late. December is completely dead. Actually, there is
Yeah.
easily no very rare hiring happen in December.
Yeah, because it's everybody is on
Yeah,
vacation.
yes, it's very really slow. Okay, December, very slow. So it picked up in January. So if we do it now, then we have at least 1 month in November. At least we can.
Right.
I mean, if nothing happens, still fine. At least we can have a like a, experience how to talk to recruiter, things like that.
Right.
Okay. So that's why I'm going to put this month, sometime this month, I'm going to send the resume so that you can guys review and then project I'll talk about it. Okay, so just to give you a heads up that so that you can mentally prepare that you guys will be in the market this month. Okay,
All right.
yeah, but I have to talk about actually database a little bit more, which is fine, and then also QC a little bit more, and the project. Okay, project is the most important part.
Okay.
Uh, Now, side by for you, I mean, I have project that I can show in your resume, but the project that you are working right now. Okay, I mean, if anybody works in any IT, doesn't matter what kind of IT related things they do, any software, I mean, basically any software. Let's say if you work in a healthcare and you use a software to like enter patient's database, let's say, still you can
Right.
use that software that you are testing that software because you know
Right.
that software ins and out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. The software that you use is like CRM kind of software.
Yeah, it's called Dart.
Okay,
Okay, and it has like a lot of like it's a main software which has like a different software incorporated in it.
okay.
So like it has different parts over there. So
So
what they did like they combined all the software in one window. Okay, and that window like we just need to open and all the software comes up in that.
okay. So
So
you
it's just
prefer
it's not only the CRM, it has like other stuff also, but the CRM part of it, like it's a usual software that is used in the market that's called Remedy.
Remedy.
Okay, that's yeah, so that's the one which we use for the ticketing and stuff.
Okay, okay.
But other than that, like all things comes up in the main software that's called Dart over there.
Yeah. See, I mean, the best thing is if you, I mean, is that okay for you? You wanna do it, the project you are working right now to show, because you can explain that functionality in depth, right?
Hmm.
The project that you're working, like if you show that you are testing that, you understand my point, like the whatever the software you're using to work at work, you can
Right.
just show you are this software is not in market, you are testing, or this software is already in market but you are updating it. It's like phase two,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
Then you can explain in details like what that software is, because they usually ask you, the first question is what you currently doing at work. So
Hmm.
you can that actually means your day-to-day work, so you can
Right.
explain what is the software is about. That's less
Okay.
like part of the description, like you need to talk about 1 to 2 minutes at least about the software. So you can quickly, in details you can explain, okay, this is the functionality of the software and I'm testing this functionality you know
Okay.
so if you I mean, do I prefer to do that? Is that okay with you or not?
Yeah, the only thing is like it's a personalized software for them. So like
That's completely
definitely.
fine, Zaid, because big company, all of the big company has some kinds of personalized software.
Mhm.
Let's say, to give you a really good example is the QTP that the HP has, right? In at the
Right.
FRB, the Federal Reserve Bank, they have what they did. They took the QTP, they modify it. They completely modify it,
Okay.
not completely. Like at the backbone, they use QTP, but at the front
Hmm.
end, they have another application that is layered to it. They call it, I think, AFT or something. So
Okay.
so they customize it. Okay, so this is what actually big company does. They customize software. They have customized software. So that's
All
even
right.
better. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. If you prefer, I prefer that, because the only reason is you will have no hassle to learn that project. Basically, it will be in your
Right.
brain always. Anything they ask you, you can answer right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you need to remember, like not remember, you already know all the functionality, and you need to tell them that, okay, this is the functionality I test. Okay, that's all. Because if you have good SDLC, QC, and then database knowledge, you can easily explain, okay, this is the front end I use, this is what in the database it goes to, and I validated those database, I validated those front end functionality, things like that. That's why it's really good thing if you put the same project that you are working in your current project, and then
Okay.
in the previous project, reference wise and everything is not a problem. I'll give you my real information, of course, as the reference. And I have friends, who already work in IT, so I'll use their name as a reference also. That's the thing. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
So let's plan like that, because I think that's the best. Otherwise, I mean, if you want, I can show you my current project also in FRB. If there is something, you tell me. Okay, it's completely up to you. I have no problem. Like in my current project, I can show you. You work at the FRB, and
Hmm.
you can use my, of course, my reference and everything. So that's a
All
good
right.
thing. But let's think about it. You tell me whatever you prefer. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're more
Okay.
comfortable with. Because if I give you another project, you have to learn and memorize things. You may forget. You will be a little bit, initially a little bit not comfortable in the interview. But if you, like you said, in
Right.
the same project that you're working for years, it will be, piece of cake for you. So that's the reason.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you think it over. When you make the resume, then we can
All
talk.
right.
Okay. uh, Sunny bhai. Okay. Said by Iona, yesterday I talked about it, but I wanna talk a little bit more details about it. Okay, this this
All
this
right.
thing, this thing is very important. This is the thing we test in data warehouse. This thing that I highlighted, actually those are the thing. I mean, of course there are other things, but those are very important. Like these testing are like number one priority. I sent you before also, like initial slide with some name of testing. Where is those? Let me show. This is a different type of testing. The reason actually I put this testing, sometimes in the interview, they ask you like, what is this testing? What is that testing? And so that you know the name of this testing and you can explain. That's the purpose. But actually in real life, the type of testing that you'll do is completely depend of environment, meaning environment to environment, the place you are working, what kind of data warehouse they have, what kind of data they have, and not only what kind of, so what is the amount of data they have. Let's say currently I'm working at the bank, so the amount that I have, let's say in the source, if I have like say 1,000,003 cents, right, for one record 1,000,003 cents amount, and if the target have 1,000,002 cents, is a problem for them. They want to know where this 1 cents go. Is that sensitive?
Right.
But when I used to work in the WebMD, they have also count like number of records, things like that, number of members. So even if the number, sorry, just 1 second, okay.
Sure. Sunny? Sunny? सो गया?
Okay, sorry. So like I said, if the record even like 2% difference, source to target, if the count is different up to 2%, that's fine. So if I have in the source, if I have let's say 1 million, the target, if I have 1,002,000, 1,001,000, that's fine. They don't want to know where this 2,000 extra came from, or where this 2,000 I lost. That's okay. So it depends on the place also. What kind of data you are handling with. That's why we just need to know what are the logic we need to make sure that it's working, okay, or it is not working. That's why we need to understand this. Now, SCD type 1. SCD type 1, if you realize what is SCD type 1, it's like direct copy, right? No historical data.
Right.
If in the source, if I have a record, in the target, in the source, if I have a record, but in the target, I do not have that. I directly insert it, right? That's the thing. If I have a record in source, let's say this record I have in the source, right? This record, if I have in the source, and if I do not have in the target, I just directly insert it. That's it. Right, done.
Right.
I just directly insert it. But if in this record, if I have in the source, and if I have it in the target, I do not insert it, right?
Correct.
Now, if I have this record in the source, and I also have that in the target. Now, what I just said, if I have this record in the source, but I do not have it in the target, I have in the source,
Then you can,
right? I have it in the source, but in the target, I don't have it, right? So I directly insert, right?
Right.
Directly insert. Now, let's say I have it in the source, okay? I have it in the source, and I also have it in the target. What I do? I don't do anything, right?
Right.
You understand this part? This is an important part. We need to test that, okay? That's what I'm saying. So it's one
So
scenario. One scenario is what I have it in the
one
source.
scenario is one scenario is like if it's in the source and not in the target, we can able to insert it.
We have
But if it's in
yes.
the second scenario is if it's in the source and it's in the target, you cannot able to insert it.
Okay. The third scenario is I have it in the source, I have it in the target also, but there is a change in one of the attribute. Attribute meaning in the column.
Column,
There is a
column, right?
change. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 column here. It could be 20 columns, right? So there is a change. Any change. Let's say I'm changing my phone number. Let's say I'm just changing my phone number. Okay. I'm changing my phone number. So there is a change. So if there is a change, I delete this and insert the new record. I delete the whole thing. I just
Right.
don't only update it. I delete the whole thing and insert the new record. Right?
Yeah, but it will only happen in the SCD part, SCD1, right?
SCD1. We are talking about SCD1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 3 scenario we need to test. Okay, 3 scenario. First, I have a completely brand new record, right? I have a new record. Do not exist in brand new record in source, right?
Right.
Target not exist, right? So what I do? Insert. Clear? New record in
Right.
source, target not exist, so insert it, right? And then I have a record. I shouldn't say new record. I have a record. I have a record in source, target not exist, right? So insert it. Now I have another scenario. I have a record in source, and then target exists, right? Then what do we do? Do nothing.
Not able to insert.
Do nothing actually, right? I have it in the
Yeah.
source and a target exists, so do nothing. And then I have a record in source. Now here I have a record in source and exist in target, right? But change in attribute, right? So insert or insert update, right? Basically. Now,
So delete previous and insert new.
yes, delete previous, insert new. But I'm going to come another logic here. But let's see if we understand this first. These 3 logic we need to test. It's not that we're just going to look. We need to test it. So record I have in the source record. I'm going to check if it exists in the target or not. If it doesn't
Target or not. Right.
I have a record, target is exist, then do nothing. But same record, let's say I have it in source, I have it in target, but there is a change in the attribute. Change in the attribute meaning where in the source, right? Then I have to insert an update. I said insert. I didn't say only insert. I said insert an update. What does that mean? Now this is what it means. There is a to date. Usually all the dimension table, usually like 99% time you will see in the dimension table, there will be 2 date or 3 date. Okay, 2 date, 3 date, sometimes 4 date, all the different kinds of date. One is create date, one is initially created, first time, and then update date. So here, look, this one is like an update, right? It's a change in attribute. So create date will not change. The update date will change, right?
Right.
Do you understand this? If the record, make sure you understand this side by super important topic to test it. If you do not understand, you will not be able to test it. That's why I'm just pressing too much on this for you to understand it. So if the record exists in the source, it exists, right? And there is a change in the attribute. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this one and insert the new record, right? This is one thing. I mean, it looks like to us what we are inserting the record and updating only where there is a change, right?
Right.
So let's say my phone number is changing. My phone number is changing, right? That's the only attribute change, right? In this one. So I'm inserting and then update what? I'm updating the create date here. I mean, not the create date, the update date.
Update date.
The
Right.
create date will not change because it already exists in the past, right?
Right.
That is the first time when you insert the record. That is the first time.
Record, right.
And then every time you modify it, you change this date only, no other date. Understand? So here,
Correct.
if record new, then when you first time, let's say this is the first time I'm putting this record, first time. So this create date and update date will be the same, right?
Right.
First time, when you first time putting it. So if the record is new, create date and update date is same.
Date are same.
Right. So if the record is updated,
updating.
right? If record is updated, then create date
and update date will not be
different, right? That's the whole thing, right? So see, you are testing here actually. Here we are talking about like 5 scenario, right? So this is the thing actually we need to test. This is the thing actually we need to test. So that's why I'm saying we have to understand this 100% very conceptually clear, so then we can easily test it. Because like I said, this is a very one-line query. One line is nothing complicated query, but we need to understand what we are doing. Okay. So first thing is, if the record is completely brand new, then we insert the whole record to the dimension table, right? And at that time, create date and update date is the same. Done, right? Done.
Right.
Now another thing is the record. Record in source we have target exists. Same thing. No changes though, right? No changes. No update or no attribute changes. Because third logic we are talking about the attribute change, but this logic without attribute changes, right? Then we just do nothing. Same record I have. It could be duplicate record. That's why. So we are not doing anything. And the third option is if there is change in the attribute, then we update the whatever the change we have, we update it and also update the create date. Update date, right? So whenever the brand new record we put, we have to make sure the update date and create date same. When the record is existing, changes in attribute, then we have to make sure that this is different.
The create date and update date will be different.
You understand this? Clear?
Yeah.
That's correct. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
So just please make sure, like if you have any confusion, make sure you mention it. Okay. So I don't want you to like have any confusion here. So now, okay. Now let's say, how do I do that in real life? How do I do that? Because we have to create a scenario. We have to create a scenario. If we have a source, right? If we have a source and then target, right? We have a source database and target database. Now I have to create the scenario. I have to, when I say I have to create the scenario, meaning I have to create the test data. Now I have to, for the first record, let's see what happened. Record in source. When I have the record in source, I do not have it in the target, right?
Correct.
Now I have to create the scenario. How do I do that? Very simple. I have to, let's say this record, I have it in the source, right? I have it in the source. I have this record. Okay. Now I'm going to pick a record. Oops, what happened? Now what I'm going to do is actually, how do I test it basically? This is what I'm talking about right now. So I am going to pick a record that exists in the source and also exists in the target. Just randomly, I'm going to look at the database. This is a database table, right? In the source, I have a table, right? Source table. In the target, I have a table. So I'm going to pick any record that exists in both places. Source, I have the record. Target, I have the record, right? So for the insert logic, the record exists in source but do not exist in target, right? But to create the test data, I'm creating the test data. So I have I'm going to pick a record that exists in both places, right? And then I'm going to delete this record from the target, manually delete this record. Like delete from this table where record ID is equal to this. I'm deleting it. Okay. Now
Right.
I picked a record. I know what record I picked. I have the ID number. There should be an ID number here at the beginning. To record and manually deleting it. Delete the target record. Now what happened? What ETL does? ETL developer create a script that load all the data from the source to the target. This is what ETL does, right?
Okay.
ETL developer, he wrote a
Mhm.
script that whenever he runs his script, all the data from the source is going to load in the target, right?
Correct.
So see, I have this record in both places, but I delete it from the target. So now what is the scenario? I have it in the source. I do not have it in the target, right?
Right.
So whenever he run the record, he's going to load here, right? Because
Correct.
I don't have it there, right? So now I
Correct.
can test this now. Whenever he run it, right?
The first scenario, yeah. First
Right. So
scenario.
I create the scenario, right? Now this is
Correct.
what happened. Now same thing. See, if I have this, I'm going to pick another record. I'm going to pick another record. Let's say I'm picking another record, right? Let's say I'm picking another record. This is another record. Okay. This is another record. Record existing source and existing target. So same record I also have in, let's say, in target. I picked another record. I didn't delete it this time. I leave it like this. So I have it in the source. I have it in the target. Now I am going to run the ETL. So what should happen? Nothing should happen. Whatever it is, it should be same thing exactly.
Same thing exactly in the target.
Same thing. Nothing should change. The update date should not change. Phone number, name, nothing should change, right? Create date should not change, right? Is it
Right.
true? So this is the second scenario. Now I can get another record, right? Let me get another record, right? This is another record. What record existing target, existing source and existing target, but change in attribute. So here, let's say this is another record I'm picking. Now this is a change in the scenario. Now this record I should have already in target, right? Oops. So I'm going to pick a record that exists in target, right? For this third scenario, right? I pick a record that exists in both place. Now what I'm going to do, if you realize, I'm going to see what is the phone number I have. I have the same record exactly, right? Same record. Now let me change something here manually. I'm changing this, okay?
All right.
So I'm changing one attribute. See, this for this one, I'm changing it. Like update, right? Update table name from this table where record ID is this. I'm manually updating it. So now I'm going to run the ETL, right? ETL script, the developer it, I'm going to run it. So now what's going to happen? This thing should update it like this, right? And this thing also should update it with today's date, right? These two things should happen, right? Yeah.
That's correct.
Whatever the update is here, whatever, let's say if also this, then there's going to also change, right? Whatever the update is. And also this thing. So all that, yeah, go ahead.
One question, like, what about the update date in the source table? It also got changed or not?
Update? No. So in the source table, whatever in the source table, it will be there. No, it will not going to change. The source table.
It will not going to change. Source table, there's nothing changed. Even though if we change the, if any attribute got changed, like let's say for example, telephone number or like state got changed, but there's no update date got changed in the source table. It just changed it in the target table.
Yes, but for you to understand, this create date and update date, usually we don't have it in the source table. We create those table in the target, because create date, what is creating in the data warehouse, not when not when it is created in the source. This date is
all right, I got it.
Data warehouse. So usually
so it's only for the data warehouse. It's not for the actual record.
Right, that is correct. So whatever the changes, I have to verify that these changes happens and also change the update date.
Okay.
That's the thing that we are going to verify. Make sense?
All right. Yep, I got it.
And then of course we're gonna this date thing that we just talked. We're gonna make sure they are matching. Okay. So this is the three scenario. Now what I just talked about, what we need to test and how. So how we test it, we manually, if you realize, we pick up a data that exists in both place, and then we can manually manipulate it basically, right? We can change it.
Okay.
What I'm saying, we have to create our own data. We are creating our own data here, right? One second. Okay. So what I'm saying is we have to create our test data like this. Nobody is going to create it for us. Okay. So if we do not understand what to test, we'll never be able to create the test data. You see, this thing is very simple. If you realize what I'm doing, I'm just updating one record, right? I just update this one manually. I update this one. It's very simple, right? Update from table name where record ID is this. Update table name, set column name where record ID is this. Very simple, one line of query, right?
Right.
So doing it is not hard, right? If you understand what to do, that's it.
Correct.
Okay. So in the interview, they ask you though. In the interview, they ask you, how do you test insert logic? How do you test? First of all, they ask you, what do you test in dimension table? Then you have to say, I have to test like insert, update, delete logic, null validation, duplicate validation. Those are the things I need to test, right? And then they will ask you how to test, how you test insert logic, update logic. Okay, these are the things they will tell you. Now we have two things happens. First thing is, now this is the source data you are deleting, inserting, updating, right? Right? Source data.
Okay.
You are doing it. Now they might say you do not have access to the source data. You cannot change anything because this is a database. You may have permission to do it, to modify data. You may not permission. So they want to trick you. They will say you, let's say you have the permission to do it. If you tell them, okay, I know I delete record, I update record, and then I do it. And they might say, let's say you do not have permission to modify, then what do you do? Like, I'm updating this record. I don't have the permission to update it. It will block you. Then what? Then you need to tell them, what I do is I create the script, all this, like I write the script, I write the SQL query to do all these things, but I do not have the permission, but developer has or whoever have, I send him the script and let him run it for me. Understand this point? Developer
All right.
to have permission, otherwise he never can be able to do any job. Or DV or some.
So like if we don't have permission, we will give that script to somebody who has that permission, and then they can and then they can run it.
Right, they can run it for me, and then in the target, when they run update the source data, they run the ETL, and then the source target. Basically, I just need to check. I don't do anything basically. I mean, not much. Do it like deleting record, things like that. Same thing. If because this season of what I'm telling you right now, one of the interview, they asked me in the interview, how do you test it? And I told them that these things are logic and delete all these things I do. They said, okay, very good. But let's say you don't have, this is exactly the word this. Let's say you do not have write permission. This is what is called write permission. Let's say you have only select permission, but no write permission. Then how do you modify? This is what they're saying. Then I said, I usually send it to DBA or developer. DBA 100% have access for sure, but also developer can do it. Basically, I said, whoever has permission, I send it to them. So that's the answer that you tell them. So this is very important because this is what you do. And if you are not able to explain this properly, something is wrong. Okay, something
Mm-hmm.
is fishy basically, and whenever you
Right.
find out something is fishy, doesn't matter how much you know, they don't pick you. Because this
Okay.
job, like they know, especially Indian people, they are ahead of us in this game. They did it long time ago. They started doing this, like taking classes and then do this, right?
Uh-huh.
So they know that people are doing this, so they try to find out
Mm-hmm.
people who are doing this like this tricky way.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is even a small suspicion, they don't. Sometimes you will see the interview was good, but why they are not calling me? Because they suspected you for some answer. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason I always make sure that you understand it. If you understand, you can come up with the answer. If you understand completely,
Right.
because that's really important. So see, we are deleting a record from the target and then running the ETL. See, this is the thing that you run the ETL job. It's called like run the ETL job. Run the ETL job. Okay, run the ETL jobs mean the developer have some script that load the data from source to target, right?
Correct.
Developers have the ETL jobs, also called script, right? Jobs call whenever is informatic or things like that, or script, doesn't matter. Say developer said ETL jobs, you could say that load the source source data to target
Target.
table, right? So
Right.
what I'm going to tell them I deleted for the first one, I deleted record from the target. I have to make sure the
Mm-hmm.
same record exists in the source. This is one scenario.
Right.
Then I'm going to pick a record that exists in the source and exists in the target. I'm not going to change anything. I'm pick another record that exists in the source, exists in the target, but I'm just manually changing any column, right?
Right.
And then after changing this, I am going to let the developer run the ETL job, or if I have the script, sometimes they might give you the script to run it too. You can run it too. Okay, depend on the environment. So I'm
If
gonna
if I have the permission in my environment, then I can run the script, right?
yes. So this is happens. You can tell the developer run it, or you can run it if you have the access. Or what happen is once it is in QA, once the testing phase happening, based on the requirement, you can tell them to automatically run the job every day, like 2-3 times or one time. Every day is running. Let's say every day it is running in the morning at 11 o'clock. They set it up like that. So then you can test. Every day it is running at 11 o'clock. So what you do, like whole day you create some scenario like this. Whole day you are doing your work, testing. You create some scenario like this. And the next day, the job is going to automatically run. And then after 11 o'clock, after 10 o'clock, after 9 o'clock, whenever the job run, you can just check it, right?
Right.
Do you understand this scenario? Developer, if you
Yeah.
tell the
I mean,
developer he can run it, or if he give you
mm,
the permission, you can run it, or they set it up.
or like it's an automatic job, like every day at the same time, like it runs and load the data in the target table.
Yes,
So that also happened.
right. So whole day, what do? You create some scenario like this, right? You are working, you are just
Yeah.
creating some test data, and then 5 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
you go home. Next day, automatically it's going to run. You can just check it out if it's matching
Right.
or not, right? That's it. So I'm just giving you the scenario because they ask you like, how do you run it? Do you run it? Developer run it, or what happens?
Right.
Then you can tell them that in my current job, there is a auto setup every day at 11 o'clock. The job runs, 11 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, the database refreshes. Okay, it will just runs 11 o'clock, and they might ask you also just
Mm,
to see if you really doing it. How long it takes? Okay, how long it takes? Now if you tell them 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, that's usually not right, because
yeah.
usually it takes long time. Usually long time meaning like
Right.
2-3 hours, five
It
hours
maybe
6 hours.
yeah, because it's loading all the data and stuff, so it
Yeah,
will take time on that.
yes. So best thing to say, not to do it in the morning time or at noon time, is usually to say good thing is at night time. Okay,
At nighttime because there will be no load on the servers.
right. So usually if they say tell them there's the auto setup at night time, and then every night it's refreshes. So when I come in the whole day, I set up my scenario, different test data and everything, and then at night time it refreshes. So when I come in the morning, I can check my
Upload the data for me.
yes, and then tell them usually it takes like 4 hours, 5 hours, And this is and then another thing also, if the job is it taking the same amount of time every day, you must tell them that approximately same, but no. It takes sometimes 4 hours, sometimes 4.5 hours, sometimes depending load of the server when the job is running. It's like internet. Sometimes internet is very fast, internet is very slow. Okay.
Right.
I had my internet was slow before. I think 20 megabyte. I updated to 50 megabyte, but still was not much improved. Like a little bit improved, not much. So yesterday, what I did, I put a cable. Forget about Wi-Fi. I put a cable, and now what happened is the download time was 3 megabytes something. Now is 15 megabyte, and then upload time was 2 megabyte. Now is 6. And then there was like, I think around night time. So this morning I checked just, the speed test. And when I checked this morning, it was like download time was like 40 megabyte. And then upload time was like, I think 11 point something. I was surprised. It's so different. Now the time, like.
Yeah, but we, with us, like with Cablevision, we provide that exact speed which we are telling you. Like if you're on the hardwire, you will get the exact speed. So let's say if you commit it for 50, if you're with the hardwire, not with the wireless, because everywhere the wireless are different, but with the hardwire, you will get the same speed.
Oh, okay.
Every time.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, Wi-Fi is good for mobile or something, but if you have a computer like desktop, it's better to have.
Yeah, like
right?
Whenever I suggest people, like I always tell them, like connect a wire directly to the router, because the only problem with the desktop computers, they have old wireless card, like which support only 2.4 gigahertz.
Yes.
And nowadays, like there are a lot of wireless congestion, because of which like you have that problem. So, but in the cell phones, you don't feel any problem because they have another frequency that's called 5 gigahertz. So usually they get connected on the 5 gigahertz and they don't have any disturbance on 5 gigahertz. So you will get good speeds on cell phones and new MacBook and new laptops. But with the desktop and stuff, like forget about it.
Yeah.
So
this is a big difference. So I mean that's why I changed it, especially when I was uploading the video in YouTube for the class, and it was taking like 3-4 hours. I said like it's too much.
Right.
I hope it will be faster today. So anyway, so see, this is the scenario we need to test, like insert, update, delete. We just talk about insert, update, delete, right? This logic.
Right.
And record and update date time and delete date time. I mean, update date, create date. Right? This is the scenario. So how do we do that? This is super important for the interview. And of course, at work, but it's very important for interview. They ask you in details level. Okay? So make sure you just know how to explain this. Okay? How to explain.
So that's called insert logic?
Insert, update, and delete.
Okay, insert, update. No, like in the testing wise, like when we were seeing those those things. And okay, hold on a second. Okay, it's called insert logic, or like okay, so it's everything you tell me like in the same thing. So you told us insert logic, insert update logic, no change in attribute, create date and update date.
Yes.
Okay, so these things we covered. Now the other 4 things: duplicate key, null validation, count, and minus operator.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it, but it's the same thing. This is the important thing. If you understand, this other thing is very simple also. It will be simpler for you.
Okay.
So I'm going to go all of it. So what I'm saying is what we talk about right now is insert, update, and delete logic, right? We are inserting new, and we are deleting, and then making sure it's inserting, and then update also. Updating meaning the attribute is updated, right?
Attribute is updated.
Insert means
Right.
completely brand new record. It does not exist in the target. And then update is you are modifying some attribute, and delete means you deleting a record in the target and then checking, making sure is newly inserted. Right?
It's again coming up on that.
Yes,
Right.
so insert in the logic. And then create data and update data we are testing also. And then same thing with duplicate value, null value, and count. I'm going to come to this. Now here, always there will be an ID here. Always there will be ID. Okay. In the target, I mean target source, always there will be ID. Now this ID is called surrogate key. Surrogate key. Now let's talk about what surrogate key. I talked about it, Said Bhai, right? Did I? I should.
No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Really?
Surrogate is a different carrier, right?
I don't know how come I didn't talk about this. I have it in the slide. In the slide that I sent, I have it, but I didn't miss it.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about it.
Surrogate key and primary key. Okay. Now, what is primary key? Like I said, this is primary key. Let's say, okay. Let's say this is primary key. What does that mean, Saida? If this is a primary key column, this is a primary key column. What does that mean?
Means like you cannot insert a repetitive thing in that. So like 1 and 2 are two unique things. You cannot insert another one in it.
Yes.
That's the main purpose of it.
Yes. And surrogate key, same thing, 100% same thing. Surrogate key means the same thing. You cannot, whatever primary key, surrogate key is the same thing. Okay. So, surrogate key is the same thing, whatever the primary key is. Okay.
Okay. So unique key and surrogate key is same.
Primary key and surrogate key is the same thing. Like I'm going to come to this. Of course, there is a small difference that I'll explain, but just initially, what you need to know, surrogate key and primary key is the same thing. Like same thing was functionality wise is the same thing. Functionality wise.
Okay.
Functionality wise, same thing, meaning what? Primary key, what is the function? Function means it cannot be null and it cannot be duplicate. That's the function, right?
Duplicate, yeah.
What is the function of primary key? It cannot be duplicate, it cannot be null.
That be null, right.
That's the function of primary key, right? Surrogate key, 100% same thing. It cannot be null, it cannot be duplicate. Okay, now then what's the difference? Okay, now usually business point of view, usually business point of view, primary key makes from a reasonable column or a useful column. That is one of the attribute from the data. Now what does that mean? Meaning, let's say social security number could be a primary key, right? If you realize social security number,
right,
that could be a primary key. Your driving license ID is a primary key.
Yes.
So if you realize the social security number is part of your data, your personal data, let's say you have your profile data. So social security number is part of your data, right? Is your attribute, one of your attribute. And then your ID, right? Your driving license ID, that's also your identification, right? Is your personal information. And let's say passport ID, passport number, that's also unique number, right? If you use those kind of data, like say driving license ID, social security number, passport number, then we call it primary key. That's one of the attribute. But let's say you have your data, your name, your address, your email address, things like that, but you do not have any ID in there. So what you want to do? You have to create a one. You have to create it in the source. In the source, data is coming like this. Data is coming like this. There is no ID. There is no driving license. There is no social security number. There is no row number. Nothing like that. So you are putting the data here. But whenever you put the data, you have to each line, each row you insert, you have to create an ID. And that ID will be consistent with anywhere this data, whole data goes, any table it goes, you have to take that ID. So now, if you have in the source data, If you have a passport number, if you have driving license number, if you have social security number, things like that, you can use that number as an ID number, and you like row number ID, right? As a unique number, you can use that. So that's, we call it primary key. But let's say you do not have any ID like that. Data is coming like that, no ID. Then you manually give this row an ID. You manually give this row an ID. Let's say I'm giving this one. Let's say I'm giving this 1001. I'm giving this 1002. I'm giving this 1003. Now this ID does not make any sense. Like is a number really. It's like a normal number, right? Unique number, but it's a regular number. Okay, nothing. Let's say if you are going to a subway station in the morning, you are going at work, and you are looking at that somebody is counting how many people are getting in the station. So in the morning, what they do? They start counting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? They don't count same number twice. They're counting 1, 2, 3. So every time there is somebody comes, they assign a number basically, right?
Right.
That's a unique number, right? Assign a number to that person. So that's called surrogate key. Like you are assigning each row a unique number. You are assigning each row a unique number, but that number is like a regular flat number. Has nothing to do actually with your ID, with your personal information. It's not your social security number. It's not your driving license ID. It's not your passport ID, anything like that. It's like a unique ID for you for the row. So that called surrogate key. Whenever there is like every time, what happens is in the database from the source, all the data that you have, all the data, all the row that you have from the source, whenever you put them in the target, you always assign them a number. You always must have to assign them a unique ID number. Okay. Any row that you put from the source to the target, you assign them a number. If they do not have the number already, you always put them an ID number there. That number, that number for that specific row is never changes. Okay, and it's unique number. That's called surrogate key. Now, if the number already existed, let's say like you said, driving license ID or things like that, you do not have to create another one. Let's say this is your driving license ID. This is your right. Now, if you want, you can create another surrogate key. If you want, you can create. If you want to, let's say this one I'm giving you number this. I can create another number also. Okay, but this has to be like unique. I can create another number also. So this is my ID, fine. This is also unique, but I also can create another ID. So all I'm saying, the source data that is coming, every time there is a record, all the record, whenever you put it in the target, you have to assign a number. You must have to assign a number. That number we call a surrogate key. Every row has a unique number in the target. Every row has a unique number in the target table. That unique number we call a surrogate key. Now, if the unique keys already exist, like ID number, social security number, driving license, then we call it a primary key. Now, what is the difference? The primary key has a business meaning. The primary key has a business meaning social security number, date of birth, passport number. Those are like has a business meaning to it. Flat number doesn't have a business meaning. It's just a number. Okay, this is has nothing. It's not your ID number or anything. It's like a unique row number. That's called surrogate key, but it's the same thing as a primary key actually. So surrogate key basically. So if they ask you what is surrogate key, then you have to say whenever we load data from source to target, each row we assign a number. Each row we assign a unique number.
We assign a unique number. That's called.
So every time,
and that it cannot be null.
Yes, it cannot be null, and it has to be unique. So every time if they ask, I'm going to say every time we insert a record in the target table, we assign a unique number to that row, which never changes across the database. That number we call it surrogate key. Let's say this record, what table I have? Let's say this is right now I have in dim app table, right? Dim app table. Now this record I have in dim app table. Now I'm copying this record to another table called dim OS. This number, the surrogate number will never change. It will be always same. So you can actually track the record in multiple database, multiple table using this ID, because this never changes. If you want to know this ID from here and here, it will be the same. So you can track a record in different table using the surrogate key, right?
Okay. Right.
There's the purpose. To assign an ID, unique ID, so that you can track record from one table to another table across the database. How are you going to track record? Like this, like a primary key. So then you can join with multiple table and then find the record. That's the whole idea of it. Make sense?
Yeah.
So surrogate key and primary key is also a good question on interview. Now, whatever we talk is just like same thing on SCD type 2, 3, same thing, right? Basically, the testing logic wise.
It's just like in the CD type 2, like you have all the records over there, right?
Yeah, we just need to test it. We just need to make sure that we have all the record basically. If the record exists, like here in SCD type 2, if the record exists, in the source and also exists in the target, then if there is a change, I do not delete the previous one, right?
Right. So it's just like added as a new one.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. If I have the record in the source and target, I have to make sure that if I have the same record here, right? Let's say I have this record here, and then if I have the same record again, but there is a change, let's say in this one, right? There is a change in there, then all I do is I put the whole thing again, right? Whole thing again.
And just the update date will be changed. And
update date will be changed, and there will be usually flag like 0, 1, things like that. These will be.
Okay. So it will tell us like that's the new one, that's the old one, right?
Yes. This is how you know which one is new, which one is old. That's the whole idea. Okay, this is one thing. And then see, another thing is the count logic that we talk about. Count, right? Now, for what do you call that? For SCD type 1, whatever in the source, we put it in the target. We do not make any historical record, right?
Right.
So if we have this record in the source, I'm talking about SCD type 1 now. Again, if I have this record in source, I will have same record in target, right? So source, correct. Whatever in the source I have, the target I should have the same record. If we count the source data, and if I count the target, it should be the same, right?
That's correct.
In SCD type 1, because we don't create any historical record.
Historical data.
But in SCD type 2, it is not the same case, right?
It's not the same thing, right?
So if we count in source data, if we count the target data in SCD type 1, I should get the same record. So I can use the count here. Right? But in SCD type 2 or 3, we cannot use count, can we? No, we cannot do that. So that's why.
Yeah, because like the differences, like both of them like carries historical data. In the SCD type 2, it carries all the historical data, and in the SCD type 3, it carries the last data and the current data.
Yes, that is
so correct. Definitely like it will not possible like the count type of both will come up as same.
Yes, that is correct. So So whenever you explain what you test in SAD type 2 or 3, don't mention you do count. You mention that I cannot use count because we create historical data in target but not in source, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
count
right.
is not going to match. But that's very important to mention that you cannot do count. But in SRE type 1, we can do count. And another thing is minus. What minus that? If I do table A, if I do, let's say, table A minus operator, right?
Right.
Remember the, what do you call that?
Minus.
Minus, what is minus? A set
Yeah.
operator, right?
Yeah.
What is that does it?
Yes.
Whatever record I have here, it subtract from here and display only those difference, right? Display the difference basically, right?
Yeah.
If I have 5 record here and if I have 3 record here and 3 of them exist here, then it's going to show only 2 record that doesn't exist here,
2
right?
records.
Right. So minus does
Correct.
now is minus operator I can use where? In SAD type 1.
One.
In SAD type 1, if I use minus, then how many record it should display?
0.
0, because it should be the same, right? So minus of
That's correct.
I can use only SRE type 1. SRE type 2 or 3 I cannot do. Can I?
No.
I cannot do that. Okay.
But I may a quick question.
Yeah.
Like in the SCD type 2 and SCD type 3, you said that we cannot use the minus, but how can we know about the difference? So let's say, for example, if I want to see like how many historical data is in SCD type 2 as compared to the source, so we cannot use the minus over there?
Because if you do minus, what are you going to get actually? If you realize minus, you're going to get like thousands of record. How are you going to verify that?
Oh, right. Because there are thousands of records over there, right? That's correct.
Now, of course, you can use minus, but you have to understand like what? Meaning, see, whatever record you have here, right, should have here also. But whatever record you have here, they don't exist here, right? Do you understand my point? Like here you have historical data, you have all the record, right? You have like same record, you might have 3 times here,
correct,
but you have only once here, right? So if you use minus, then you will not get like 0. Like it's supposed to give you like 0, meaning they're the same, right?
And one more thing I need to ask you, Arbi, the SCD type 2 and 3, the surrogate key will be there or not?
Yes, of course, surrogate key will be there. Let's talk about a little bit more minus here. Is minus you can use, but how? Like if you use in SCD type 1, in SCD type 1 you are using minus. Let's understand this. Minus, right? That means the count should be, the output should be what? Output should be 0, right?
0.
There should be no output. If you use in SCD type 1, if you use like source minus target, what would be the output? 0, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And then look again, if you use this target minus source, what should be the output? Same, right? Now understand this. SCD type 2, I mean 2 or 3, same thing, similar, I mean. Now source minus target. See, SCD type 2. Now whatever you have in the source, I should have same thing in the target. I should have. But whatever I have in the target, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like whatever I have in the source, I should have in the target, right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's correct.
Okay. Whatever I have in the target, do I have it in the source?
No.
Why not? Then how do I get the record?
Oh, you only have one record that is matching over there, and that's it. So the other one is the historical data.
If I do this, what I can do in SCD type, in acidity type 1, right? This is acidity
Right.
type 2. Acidity type 1, if I do this or that, both, I should get 0.
Both are 0.
I
Right.
should, either way. In acidity type 1, what's going to happen? Tell me. When I should get 0 and 1, I should not get 0.
You shouldn't get 0 on that. On both the scenario, you will not get any 0. Either you minus source from target or target from source. Correct.
Hold on. Target minus source. The opposite of it. So understand this. Let's analyze it. If I do source, right, this one minus the target, meaning what? If you analyze it, source I have record, and then target I have
Right.
record. So if I minus
Right.
the record, whatever minus the record, meaning let's say this 3 record I have it in the source, right? In the source, this is what I have, and then in the target I may have this record and then some extra record, right? And then some extra record, let's say, right? Some extra record will be there, right?
Yeah.
This is source. This is source. Target. Target will be extra record because why? Because it's a historical record, right?
Right.
Okay. So what does that mean is this one means source. This record should exist in there, right? Whatever I have here,
Yeah.
they should exist in there. But whatever I have here, they may not exist everything here.
Correct.
You understand this thing? Meaning in the
Yeah.
target, whatever I have, right, in the target, not everything will be there, right? Not everything will be in the source. In the target, whatever I have, not all the record will be in the source, right? Because in the source I have no historical, but target I have, this is no historical, right? No history, right? Right? It's no history. The target, right? Regular record I have, I'm just putting it in. So in the target, I have all the record. But in the source, I do not have all the record. Right? So
Right.
if I do source minus the target, meaning whatever you have here, minus, what does that mean is, I have this here, right? Subtract all this from here, right? And then display whatever the difference is from the source though. From the source, not the target. Let's say this record, these 3 records are common here. They're going to subtract this record. And it's going to display what? 0. Right? Because this exists here, this is common, right?
Right.
This record is common. So this is actually what I'm doing. This is from this one, I'm subtracting all this, right? So it's going to display what?
0.
Why 0? Tell me.
Because like the source records, like whatever the records are in the source, they're in the target also.
Okay, good. This is what I want to know. So it should show the display 0. So I'm good on this one.
Right.
It should display 0. So if I do source minus target, then it should display 0. If it displays 0,
Right.
that means I'm good, right?
Yeah.
Now in the target minus source, if I do target, if I do this one first and then minus source, is going to show me some record, right? Is going to, if I do this, right? If I do this, right? If I do target minus this, right? So this is a common record. This is a common, right? So he's going to display this record, right? So he's going to display basically 2 records. Now, if you realize this 2 record is not actually 2 record, it could be like thousands of record, right? Or millions of record.
That's correct.
So how I'm going to verify millions of record? Nothing to verify. I cannot verify anything.
Yep, that's
I cannot
correct.
verify. So since I cannot verify, this thing does not make any sense, right? Doing this doesn't make any sense because it could be 2 million record, right? And if I get 2 million record, what I'm going to check here? Nothing to check.
Nothing.
So
And it's a waste of time.
So type 2, I can do source minus target. I can do that, right? All the source
but not
should
target
exist in the
minus
target.
source.
All the source should exist in the target. So I can do in type 2, I can do source minus target. but target minus source I cannot do.
Okay.
So in SAD type 1, I need to do source minus target, target minus source to make sure that I am good, right? And SAD type 2, I can do only source minus target. I cannot do target minus source. Clear?
Yep.
Why I cannot do? Because it's going to show some extra record, and what I'm going to do with this extra record? I have nothing to compare with, nothing to verify here, because it could be millions of records, it could be thousands of records, right?
Correct.
Now here, you understand this part, right? Same thing with SAD type 3 though, right? Because they also do the same thing. So for us to understand and memorize SAD type 1, I can do both source and target, right? Source minus target, target minus source. But SAD type 2 and 3, I can do only source minus target. I cannot do target minus source, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, another thing is, now here, whenever I do source minus target, see, minus operator meaning what? Set operator. The column number from this table and then this table has to be the same, right?
Yep, that's
So
correct.
I need to pick whenever I do, this is a select statement, right? Select column from this table. So I have to make sure I'm selecting only the common column, like create date, update date should not be in the source. So I cannot select those, right?
Right.
So we need to make sure we are selecting only those columns that exist in both tables.
Correct.
Clear on this one?
Yep.
Okay. So let's take quick 5 minutes break, okay?
Sure.
Just 5 minutes. We'll be back. Right now it's 45. We'll be back in 50.
50. Sunny? Sleeping.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay. All right. So see, this logic that we are talking about, we need to manually create the test data. That's the whole point actually. We need to create the data for it, so then we can test, right? We have to create the data in the source system and target. We have to create the scenario, and then we have to run the ETL. Then we need to test, check it out, right?
Arbe, your voice break up.
Oh.
So I just heard the word ETL. That's it.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, first we need to create the test data, right? Test data in the source and target. All this scenario, we have to insert, delete, and update. All this logic we have to create in the source and target. And then, you guys can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
And then we need to run the job, run the ETL job, right? We have to create the scenario first, meaning create the test data first, and then we need to run the ETL job, and then we have to test the data, right?
Right.
That's the whole point. Now, see here, duplicate, null value, right? This is the another two scenario. We have to do the same thing. Duplicate meaning what? If you realize, if I have something in the source, right? Let's say I have some data in the source, okay? I have this data in the source. What I'm going to do, this data I have in the source, right? And in the target, I'm going to copy that, let's say, twice. So I have duplicate record here, right?
Right.
Right. So now, whenever the ETL job is run, it should delete one record, right? Theoretically?
Yep, that's correct.
It should, because this is wrong. What actually ETL job does it, whenever there is a change in the record, it just makes sure that data consistency are correct, right? Everything is correct, basically. So we have to put multiple record in the target, like this record, I'm going to put it, let's say, 3 times, right? I'm going to just put it 3 times. So I have duplicate record. Now, if I run the job, I should have only one record, others should be deleted, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. So that's duplicate record. And another thing is also, I have to make sure this primary key has like unique value, right? The surrogate key or primary key has unique value. Is that meaning actually same thing? I have to make sure that record are not duplicated. So I have to create the scenario for those. Without creating the scenario, I cannot really do anything, right? I have to mimic the data for all of the scenario. And null value is the same thing. Null value, see, this is the thing here. Null value, two things. I have to make sure there is no null, right? There is no null. And another thing is I have to create some null value, create some manually null value, and then check after that if it's still null or not. It should not be null, right? Right? I have to create some null values. First thing, I have to make sure there is no null where it should not be null. Where it should not be null, I have to make sure those are not null. Now, what I mean that how do I know which record I should not be null? Meaning like ID, let's say ID, create date, and then the description. There is some not null value from the table description I can find out, right? From the data structure, find out, I can see what is null and what is not null, right?
Right.
Okay. Null, not null. And then I have to check this. So those are the scenario. I have to make sure that I cover everything. And make sure on the interview, please, you mention all of this scenario. You mention all of this scenario that what you test. If they ask you what you test in data, then you just tell them based on the type, SCD 1, 2, or 3, I test, insert, update, delete logic, null value, duplicate value, count, all these things. I create the test data in both the source and target, and then I run the ETL job, or developer run the ETL job, or automatically when it runs as overnight, next day I check the scenario. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And another thing also, we do sampling, sample testing, right? Sample testing meaning what? We have a sample test, right? Like data sampling. I mean, data sampling. What the data sampling means?
Data sampling, we get the samples of the data from server.
Okay. Basically, we pick some data from the source and we make sure we have the same data in the target, right? Data should be same. The source data, like say record by record check, right? If we have like say millions of record, 5 millions of record, you cannot check, or sometimes you cannot check every single record. If you have 1 million record in source and 1 million record or 5 million record, how can you check all the records? Sometimes you cannot, it depends, So at that time, you just pick like say 1,000 record from the source and then make sure all these 1,000 record are the same in the target, nothing changes. Now, what that mean is same meaning like say case also, uppercase, lowercase, and the length of the column. You mean there is no truncation. Let's say this is a big name, right? This is a big name. Let's say this is a big name. So if this length, if this one I have, let's say 30 character, in the target I also have 30 character. In the source I have 30, in the target I have 30 character. Okay. So those are the data sampling. Make sure the data are 100% correct in both places. Okay. Clear?
That's correct.
Now another thing, in the interview, they ask you what kind of documents you deliver after, what do you call that? After the testing, or what kind of documents you usually submit? 1 second. Okay, so what kind of documents we submit? Like our testing is completed, let's say. So what do we submit? Okay, that's very important thing. It's not only on the interview, at work also we need to understand this. Like we do requirement RTM, right? Requirement traceability metrics. right?
Yeah. Yeah.
RTM. We have to create that. RTM means requirement documents, right? That we have to create, right?
Right.
We have to create. We have to give them. Basically, we need to submit what we need to submit to the business after testing. We have to create the requirement traceability. That's the first thing we do. Test plan, right? Test case, test data, SQL script, right? Here one thing. Also we do CM. Those are the documents we usually not always they require all of it, but those are the documents usually we need to submit, like requirement document. I'm going to come to this requirement document, test plan, test.
দেখা যাইতেছে না।
You cannot see.
এটা খুবই ছোট।
Oh, okay, let me make it bigger. Sorry.
चश्मा लगवा ले भाई।
See now?
হ্যাঁ।
Okay. So requirement document, right? RTM, we submit test plan, test case, test data, script. That's the most important thing, right? Script. That's the most important thing. And defect status and result. That's also the important, right?
Right.
Test plan. Now, sometimes they don't care about requirement documents. Sometimes they don't care. Depends in the environment. It's not functional testing, so they don't care. Sometimes they don't care about this. Test cases actually test scenario we need to submit. That's also important. Test scenario. But these things sometimes they don't expect or they don't care. But like I said again, it depends on the scenario. So if they ask you in the interview, what do you submit, or in general, this is the documents that we need to submit. Requirement document, test plan, test case, test data, script, result, and the defect status. Okay. Now, CM means configuration management. That means actually where we put our artifact. Okay, where we submit our, where we keep our documents. Like these documents that I'm mentioning, script, test data, test case, we don't just print it out and give it to them. We put it in the SharePoint and send them the link. So where is the location and what is the location for what? It could be multiple location, right? So CM means where we are keeping all our documents. There's location is called CM, configuration management, where we are keeping all our script. That's it. That's all it means actually. Make sense?
Yes.
Any question on this? Because
So test plan, test case, test data. Nah.
did you please write it down? I don't think I put it anywhere.
No, I already wrote it down.
Okay. So of course at work we need to submit those, but in the interview, like I said, they ask you what do you give them. Okay. So make sure CM means like what? Like say if you understand, if you like think for a second, you are creating some documents, you are creating them as a tester. Nobody knows where you are keeping them. So you need to let your team member know where you are putting them. So that's called CM, configuration manager. Where are you keeping all the version of your script? This is what was that actually mean. Okay. What we are doing now, I know I talk about these all three, but do you know actually what's that mean? SCD, type slowly changing dimension, what's that actually mean?
Slowly changing dimension, like any data which is changing in the dimension table.
What's that mean? What's that actually?
Like
again.
Because once we are copying from the
slowly changing. What do you mean by slowly changing dimension, like SCD? Slowly changing. Why slowly changing, or what that actually means? Slowly changing.
like
Why? I understand my question is like, why is saying like slowly changing? What do you mean slowly changing?
it's not necessary that it's changing all the time. Like let's say if a record change like after a few years or a few months, that's why it's called slowly changing.
Yeah, actually, slowly changing means changing, right?
Right.
Actually, what that mean is it is a like data warehouse is changing. Data
Right.
warehouse is changing over the time, is modifying, growing, updating. Things are happening. It's not static.
Right. Right.
Changing. So now, what kind of change you are doing? It's changing, but what kind? Okay. So our data warehouse are changing over the time, but what kind of changing? Right? This is the kind of changing. One is
Okay.
we are not keeping any historical. One is we are keeping all the history. Another one we are keeping only current and past last data, right? Right? Make sense?
Yep.
So slowly changing because they ask you in the interview what is slowly changing. That means our data warehouse is changing over the time, and the changes are different types. There is usually don't say there are three types. Usually there are three types. Actually 1, 2, 3. Mention that one means we are not keeping any historical, and then we are keeping historical all the history, and then we are keeping
But
only
there are actually 7 types, right?
7 times. Yeah, 7 times. But this is the thing that we are using. I mean, most of the time is used. And another thing is, see, type 2. They might sometimes ask you what type of implementation your data warehouse have that you are currently working on. What kind of data warehouse implementation? What necessity type 2? Now that actually that means like how you know which is most current record. How do you know? Because in type 2 you are keeping all the record. So how do you know which one is current?
Right.
Let's say if you realize in last 15 years probably you changed your address 4 times. Which one is most current? How the NYPD or driving license department knows? How they know? They have all the 4 record, right? 4 address. How they know which one is most current? Which way? So usually there is 3 way that they keep track. One is version, one is date,
One is flag and one is flag.
date means is start date and end date, right?
Right.
So with the start
So
date,
like the create date and update date, right?
yes. No, date. Actually, I mentioned before, date could be, there is several type of date. If they use date, then they don't use only create and update. Create and update is different. Then they use start and end date.
Okay, start and end date. So like if they put like a dummy date, let's say same example when you put that 9999, the date. So
Yes.
that will be the one through which we can know that that's the current record.
Yes, that is correct. Like what that means is if they use date, then they start and end. If the start date is there, that means record is there whenever the start date is, right? And then in the end date, there could be 2 things. Either it could be null or it could be really a big number. Let's say December 31st, 9999. That's the standard usually they use. Okay.
Right.
Understand this point? Like whenever they use date as a flag, then they use create date update is will be there probably. But besides that, for the flag only, for the date flag, they use start and end date. Start date is whenever they create the record, or not whenever they create the record. Actually, whenever these changes happens actually, and then end date could be either null or really long number. Null because you don't know what is the end date. It's still going on. It's present, so it could be null. And then or it is a really big number. This is how you know. They ask you, how do you know that this is your current record based on the date? They must ask you, how do you know? Then you say there will be a start date and end date could be null or really big date, like say 12 December 31st, 1999. I mean, not 9999.
9999.
Okay.
Right.
And then version is always an incremental number, either B1, B2,
Right.
B3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever is the max is, that's the latest one. And the flag means is 0, 1 is 0 means is not current. 1 means that's the current one. All the previous record will be 0 and the current one will be 1. Okay. So this is another thing is really important because they ask you how do you know which one is most current. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And then another thing, see, if you want to verify, if you have multiple record for the same record, you will have multiple times, right? Same record, you will have it multiple times in the target, right? In ACD type 2,
Right.
same record you will be have multiple times. Then how do you test it? So if you realize, if we do this similar a multiple record is actually meaning what? Like same record you have multiple times. Same record meaning the this, let's say, description, let's say name or something, right? Not like create date or update date. We don't use it. Whatever the record it means really, those are the thing we mean multiple times. So if we do, let's say, count, if we do count on something like that, what's happening? If we do simple select, you cannot see my screen, I don't think, right? If we do select, let's say name, count from whatever table, right? And then group by name, having count greater than is equal to 1, right? What that mean is going to give me all the record that has more than one time, right? And if I do order by name, so I can serially, I can see all the record that has same name, how many times they have, right?
Right.
And then if I
Right.
know that those record I have multiple times, it's going to show me, right? If I put the ID number here, it's going to show me all the record, right? And then I can pick just any record. I know that which one has multiple record from me. Understand this query, right? I
Right.
know which record I have multiple times. Now I can do this, right? Now I know the ID number, all the ID number, right? And then I can do this, very simple. Select all from this table where ID is equal to, let's say, 1, 2, 3.
One.
Whatever,
Whatever.
right?
Okay.
And then it's going to show me only the record for this ID number.
For that particular ID, right?
From that, just one single record, I can make sure that, okay, all the record, I have the correct date, end date, start date, is a duplicate, all the status, I have 0, 1 is just 1, right? Things like that I can verify, right? So those are the way that I can verify, if because they ask you, how can you verify acidity? Okay, so this is how you verify acidity. You have the ID and the description, and then group by like this, and pick one any ID and get the number, and get the ID number and select all from this ID number, and then check the number manually. Check the data manually. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. That's it actually. In testing point of view, that's all. Now you tell me what question you have. I have a couple of questions from SDLC and QC for you guys. So now you ask me question.
Related to that, like I need to definitely redo it, and then I can tell you about it. But if I have any questions, I need to review it, and after that I can tell you.
Okay, so let's review this week. We're gonna talk next week also about it. Okay, I'm gonna go back to database next week. Okay.
All right.
Some analytical function like data warehouse. Use some analytical function.
We don't go through with the stored procedure, right?
Procedure will go. Yeah, that's very simple. Stored procedure and function, two things we need to do. So we'll talk about it.
Okay.
It's very simple procedure. Okay, it's nothing complicated. We'll talk. We can talk probably next week, but we also talk about what do you call that, data analytical function. Okay, analytical function, few of them
Right.
is very important for our testing.
Mhm.
It's important. So we'll talk about this. Now let's talk about a little bit about. I had an interview.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
one more thing,
Yeah.
like these scenarios which we did today, do you have any practical examples for that we can do in the sequel?
Yeah, actually,
Just to
practical example, yes. What happened is I could not set up my database that I had before. I had to reformat. This computer was 8, now it's 10, so I format the whole thing out. So everything is actually gone my data warehouse. I have to just put the data warehouse database.
uh-huh.
Then I can
Okay.
show you. But it's nothing actually. It's nothing complicated. I'll show you. Okay, then you will.
Just like I
I'll
just
show
need
you.
an example, like
Yeah.
so at least like we have like a practical know-how about it, like how it goes. So
Okay, I'll show you. Yeah, that's a good idea. But actually, it's not only database. You have to put the mapping there also because you have to
right.
scenario.
So like that's what I need to basically main thing is like I need to check it out how it goes through. Like let's say in the QC we have like we practically doing this stuff, like we are
Yes.
putting this stuff, but in that like I just need a little know-how about it, like how it goes through it as practical.
No, of course you're right. We need to see it. That's the best way to learn actually. Just talking about theory it doesn't give you a complete picture. Okay, so let's talk about next
Right.
week. This week I'll set it up again. Okay, I just didn't have time to
All
set
right.
it up. So let me set up my database and then
Mhm.
I'll talk about it. Okay, I'll show you next week. Okay. So guys, I mean, do you have any question on the previous thing, SDLC, QC, anything? Guys, any question on QC or anything?
QC wise, like I just need a bit more on that because as you know, like last week I was sick, so I didn't able to get to it.
So,
But uh, I just need a day on that. So if I have any questions, I can ask.
okay. So I mean, let's talk a little bit about database next week probably, and then we can talk also probably Sunday. Saturday we can talk about database, and then Sunday we can talk.
And plus, like as I already told you, like I will try to speak with one of that person, like which I already told you about, the one which is offering
Yes.
the job. So let's see what he said, like what questions he asked, and we'll go through with that.
Okay. Yeah. Find out. We can discuss about it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, guys. Then we call it a day today. If you don't have any question, we'll discuss next week. Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, Sunny bhai. Okay.
Sorry, bhai. Okay, so